All right, here we go. How's it going, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar. You're watching Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And to my right is Ob Driver, Vice President of Marketing at IDW Publishing.
Hello, Omar.
How are you, Ob? It's finally nice to meet you face to face instead of just emailing, man. So
email is a great connector. I mean, but yeah.
Oh, Greg is great, man. Tell me a little bit about yourself, not like the long walks on the beach, but exactly what is it that you do at IDW?
Yeah, so I am the VP of Marketing over here at IDW. And what that amounts to is really taking projects as soon as they leave the editorial sphere and they're done and dusted, and sometimes even before that, and looking at how to shape them for the market and get them into the direct, into the comic store, and then down the line putting them on bookshelves in the book market, and then making sure that they sell through, and people are aware of that.
And how long have you been doing this?
So all in all, I mean, career-wise, I'm about 20 years in. I started in public relations. A lot of folks know me from my time at Dark Horse. I was there for about 5.5 years. I left the industry and did some tech stuff, and then, came back in. And so with IDW, I've been here now 2 years. Or is it 5 or is it 10? It's comics. Nobody knows anymore. So
that's
yeah.
True.
So 2 years, actually this week, which is crazy. So yeah.
Okay, I have to ask this. Because you mentioned IT. How does someone see a job opening like this and say, okay, I think I can do some of this stuff? Like, based on the job description and things that you like, what are some of the things that you've done that kind of let you into this path?
So,
because you mentioned Dark Horse,
right? So when I started, I mean, and it's funny because we have this internal joke at IDW. There's a lot of people that are specifically in comics that came from on the industry side, that came from like musical theater backgrounds or theater backgrounds. So there's a lot of people that like to play a part or play a role and do this kind of thing. And so when I was an undergrad, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go down this theater route. And then I realized, no, that's not going to pan out. I need a gig. I don't want to be, in service forever waiting for the next audition. So I ended up finding a job with a record label called Roadrunner Records. And so I was at Roadrunner Records as a very junior PR, junior A&R, what we would call a gopher back in the day. Go for this, go for that, go get coffee, figure this out. And so that's kind of where I cut my teeth. And I knew that I was very, very interested in dealing with talent, dealing with artists, and I was good at it. And the music industry was pretty crazy. And during that time, I worked with some pretty big names for being so young. Like people love to hate on him, but man, Nickelback was one of the greatest things to ever happen to Roadrunner, alongside, a Slipknot or whatever. And so I was able to, work on some small talent with some very big talent. And then after a couple of years of that, ended up jumping out and trying to kind of break out on my own. And with that, found myself in the West Coast. I'd moved out west from the East Coast and had heard about a job at Dark Horse. And I was like, well, a talent in comics cannot be that different from talent in the music industry. And so with that, I kind of, sunk my teeth in and went after it. And sure enough, it's pretty much the same.
Had you been a fan of both, like the type of music that you all were representing at the label, and what about comics? Were you a fan of comics before you found out about
Absolutely. I mean, I grew up as a fan of comics, and then like in high school, I switched over to music, and did the whole try to be in a band thing and all that other stuff that comes along with it, because that seemed to be more along the lines of what was popular at the time. But I mean, I loved comics growing up. I would go to the corner store. There's this place, I grew up in Westport, Connecticut, and there's this corner store called Khaleesi's, like old mom and pop shop that would go and still had the rack of everything. And I remember like going and picking up the Death of Superman arc and being like, oh my God, this is my introduction to this character. He's dead. And then DC does what it does and gives me 4 other characters to choose from. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then, convolution ensues, and here we go. So that was like my introduction, right? And then I, stuck with it forever, and still, still love comics. So I did know Dark Horse well before joining the company, and so jumped in, coming off of Roadrunner into Dark Horse, and already was very familiar with The Mask and Hellboy, obviously, and the Conan run that we had been working on, and so all that stuff. So yeah, it was really just dissociating myself and learning everything I could about the comics industry then, and then running with it. And then, you parlay that skill set into, well, if I'm, can pitch this type of stuff to media and talk about these types of things, I can certainly figure out ways to, make that work in a tech industry as well. Not to say that, books are products and, a keyboard's a product or whatever. And so it's really just about making the associations and being able to find the familiarity with the media there.
And now you've been at IDW for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And give us, a if you can, of course, quick little maybe rundown of what your everyday is like. And I know every day has to be different.
Yeah.
Every day you do that you have to deal with.
Every day is pretty much getting up and digging through emails is the first thing that one has to do. Make sure that nothing's on fire overnight, and then it's kind of for myself kick into meetings that happen throughout the day. It's part of the thing that comes along with moving up in management is that you start to take over in the advisory role and the direction of where the company's headed and where the marketing's headed, etc. And then telling the rest of the team, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, and then having them go and execute on it. So taking them out of having to be in the minutia of meetings and letting them actually go and do the work. So yeah, it's a meeting filled day almost every single day. And then, and then there's,
you're talking about comics, so that's a little different maybe.
Oh no, I mean, it's true. There's the comics. I mean, we meet all the time. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, that's how it goes. And I mean, it's anything from, talking about the pub schedule for 2026, which we're looking at right now. We've almost got dialed in, or, we're looking at trying to figure out a partnership with Fathom Events that just released the TMNT movie in theaters. And I figure out a way to, get our trailers in front of that. These all require a lot of different handshakes and a lot of different talking sessions.
So that is something that IDW has, quite a number of titles that are licensed products, and then we can talk about some original stuff too. But you guys have, just looking at the background here, Ninja Turtles, My Little Pony, Star Trek, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Godzilla. These are big titles. A lot of these characters come, video games, animated shows, movies. When it comes to the comic book aspect of things, though, how does that work? When it's a licensed character, do storylines have to be approved by the license, like the license holders, or is it like a story arc that has to be approved? Like, not to spoil anything, but in the original IDW run of Ninja Turtles, which is still going by Jason Aaron, by the way, one of the turtles ends up dying. Like things like that are big. Like, everything has to be approved, or just like big things have to be approved?
So, pitch, like story pitch, inception to all the way through to print. Everything has a very symbiotic relationship with the licensor. So with our friends over at Paramount, for example, like with the Turtles, we actively are in discussions with them all the time. So the editorial team is talking with them at point of inception, whatever that project might be. Like, for example, Battle Nexus, which is our new TMNT weekly series, is going to start up at the end of October. And so that, we announced that back in San Diego. But with that, that book's been in the works, trying to figure out how we can pull off something like that since beginning of the year, at least.
Okay.
And so we get a pitch, a script in, an idea in, and then that goes to Paramount. Paramount says yes or no, or maybe go back for reworks, and then we start the process and we hold hands the whole time. And so the same thing goes along with, choosing the arts and the artists. I mean, we go back to them and say, hey, how's this look? They say yeah or no, or come back to us with something else. And same thing, as we work through marketing, we say, well, here's what we're thinking. We want to do X, Y, and Z for this particular project. Now, unfortunately for Battlenecks, is DC beat me to the bracket poster with their freaking event right now. But I knew about it. So this is all right. So this has been in months in the works. And I was like, we're going to get this bracket poster. It's going to be amazing. We're going to do this thing for comic shops. And then sure enough, it's going to be all these different turtles from iterations of the universe, this multiverse of turtles.
Yeah.
People are going to be so excited. And then all of a sudden DC's like, bah, here's your big event. Here's all your brackets. I was like, man, but not to say that marketing can't be copied. We do it all the time. So, I mean, that's that's how that works. But so going back to Paramount and saying, well, that one's not going to necessarily fly. So what do we do next? And so similarly, that happens with Toho. That happens with Sega. That happens with, all the other players that we work with. And, we try to make it as, friendly and a symbiotic relationship as possible to make sure that we are putting out quality products, quality books that are hitting stands and fans are happy with them, and then the licensors are happy.
I just gave you all praise. I recorded a video Monday, and it comes out on Sunday, but it was talking about my upcoming every month. I talk about my most anticipated upcoming collected editions of the month. And one of them from IDW was Turtles, the volume 18. Not a lot of companies these days stick to a format and stick to that many future volumes as IDW has with Ninja Turtles.
Sure.
And it feels like we've seen it time and time again, even from the big two from Marvel and DC, where formats just kind of end and they go about their day and people are stuck with 3 volumes of something and everything else they have to end up getting in trade paperback. And it seems like we were very blessed to have 18. It's crazy to think about 18 volumes of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in a consecutive format with the same style, the deluxe edition. That leads into Jason Aaron's run. So with things like that, you all have to plan so far in advance and talk about it. And bottom line, these things have to make money too. Those deluxe editions would not have continued past volume 1 or 2 if they weren't making money. So there were definitely people that were purchasing those and stuck to purchasing them all the way through the ending here with volume 18.
Yeah.
And now we have a new, it's not a new format, but it's the same style of the same height as deluxe editions, but I think that this time around, though, it's only collecting the first 6 issues of the Return to New York storyline.
This guy?
Yes.
The library edition, I believe is what we're calling this? Yeah, library editions.
Library editions is what we're calling them. So one of the biggest questions that I keep seeing whenever I make my videos is will IDW continue that particular era with a deluxe edition later on of a volume 19, or maybe even renumbering them, but just give it a different spine? And it's things like that I'm like, I have no idea. Maybe it depends on sales. I really don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the current run that's up to 18, that encapsulates the issues 1 to 150 of the classic IDW Turtles run, we wanted to make sure that all of those got done and kept the same format, all hardcover, and then subsequently released in trade as we went along, and giving them enough shelf time to definitely move through. But as we move into this new era of having relaunched with Jason, now we're closing out the second series, and then soon to be we will have Gene Yang and Freddie Williams taking over for 13 through 24. That's going to be its own thing, so that we will stick with the same format in terms of sizing, but I mean, with the rebrand and everything else that kind of happened, the spine obviously is gonna change, but it changes alongside a new era, and so I mean, you're gonna keep the current run the way it is. So we're happy that folks stuck with it through 18, and I'm incredibly pleased to see that amount of volumes on shelves, especially when people show you their collection. It's fascinating, and it's really, really awesome to see that fan service.
This day and age is very rare that
Mm-hmm.
companies continue on a certain format. I think it's just something that people have gotten accustomed to, the IDW treatment of stories. So you have like Ninja Turtles, you've got the couple miniseries. This is during the Jason Aaron era,
Mm-hmm.
and the new you said it was a weekly series.
The Battle Nexus, the one where
Yeah.
it's coming out, that'll be a weekly 1 through 5.
So I think that's what people are like, well, what about those stories that are not collected with like Jason Aaron's library edition? And I think that's what they were wondering, if one day perhaps we could have like a deluxe edition in a reading order with
a full reading order like that. I mean, I'm sure we'd love to put something out like that. I mean, it really depends on, where we see it falling in the pub schedule, and then where we see that kind of interaction. I think that kind of thing, because of the miniseries nature, will start out as trade and then collect eventually into something that is bound up into a hardcover. But I mean, for now, that would start in trade.
Okay, so there's your answer. I was hoping you could fill in that one, because I was like, I don't know, maybe one day. But sometimes that's the thing, right? Like some publishers don't have this like future volume idea out because they're still writing the books. Like you still have a new creative team coming in. Those are going to be for another 12 issues. Who knows what miniseries are going to fit where? I remember when IDW had, for example, Transformers and G.I. Joe. It was about 5 years in before we got those deluxe editions. And those deluxe editions were collected in chronological order. And I think that was the thing. It's like you have to wait until like things get kind of fleshed out a bit. And I think most publishers are like that too. Like when people keep asking, like, when's Marvel going to release this omnibus of this new series that just started? I was like, man, they're just on like issue 5.
You need a page count, and that's the thing. I mean, you need a high enough page count to merit an omnibus. I mean, let's settle this right now. Do omnibuses go on the top shelf, or are you just keeping your chiropractor employed?
Oh yeah, I mean, top shelf material is always X-Men, but I got my Ninja Turtles on my top shelf over there. But for me, it's like by the things that are behind me are like my favorite series, X-Men, and my Omnis are over there, and I just I got them all in alphabetical order. It's kind of ridiculous.
I spy with my little eye the Usagi set, and I worked on that. A decade ago. That's a prize set right there, my friend.
Yeah. So this is something that, speaking of collected editions, this is something that I remember when I had bought it. I'm trying to remember. I think I had my channel started 9 years ago. Whenever I had started my channel, they only had one printing of this, and then they made a second printing. Because this one, as you know, is limited to 900 copies, while the rest of the volumes are limited to 1,800 copies. No, actually 1,500 copies. So what they did was, that means that only 900 people had that volume 1, and then like all these other people, 600 more people were like, I need my copy. So what they did was reprint it again with a different cover, and I think 600 out of 600 is what they gave us. Yeah, they're
gone. Yeah.
Like I don't think back then it was a different beast too. I think we're living in some different times now where I think publishers have a better understanding of the collector's mentality. And probably I think if they were to do that, something like that nowadays, they would probably bump up
the print count. You never know.
I mean, Berserk was like that too. Dark Horse took a huge chance with Berserk in deluxe edition, because there was no manga in deluxe edition like that here in America.
And it's incredibly smart play, and it's paid off in droves for them. So kudos. I mean, we see the numbers every month. We're both with Penguin Random House. We know.
Well, it's one of those things that, because of that, now they can do things like planets and other titles in deluxe edition. And yeah, I'm glad they took a gamble. And I think that sometimes in this, in this industry, you almost have to kind of stand out, which is what you guys have been doing with those big deluxe editions.
Sure.
So you've been there 2 years. Does it feel like a lifetime already? Like you've seen so much change already in the time that you were there?
I mean, the industry has seen so much change in the last 6 months, let alone, I mean, just within the walls of IDW, it's been, massive change. So, I mean, at this point, I think we have, what I would call the best, team that we've been able to assemble in quite some time. And so that's fantastic to see. And everybody is just, rearing to go and plays super well with each other and is just throwing out awesome ideas and bringing great stuff to the table. And so that's all you can ask for. But I mean, we all move and flow with the times and everything that's kind of going on. Like, for example, Godzilla back in the beginning of the year, we had no idea the wildfires were going to hit. But we had that Godzilla LA book, and it was like, man, bad timing. So,
you never know because you're so far ahead, right?
Right,
Like
exactly. Getting back to the original question of how far ahead are we? But yeah, no, I mean, that was like, oh, what do we do? Well, let's flip it around. Let's make a big donation to Bink, and let's try and provide some stores that are affected with some relief. But that's the type of thing where you never know what's going to happen the next day. And then sure enough, the next day is all the diamond craziness, and everyone's like, so it's been fun couple of months.
Oh man, that the whole diamond thing, that really shook up the entire industry. That's for sure.
I mean, it's a hard thing having one diehard single distributor for so long that people are so enamored with. But we're on PRH, so that's all I got to say about that. So Penguin Random House all the way. And so with that, I would go back to the question of how long does it take to really start plotting a trade? Because I think that was kind of where you were going with the projection of where a trade for, say, a Mutant Nation, which was one of the Turtle minis from last year, or whatever.
Excellent choice for a trade, and it was a really good read because it kind of filled in the blank of like what happened after issue 150 and before the beginning of the Jason Aaron run.
Yeah,
but the other question is, what determines, or how do you all determine? Let's make that a trade paperback instead of a hardcover to go right along with Jason Aaron's book.
Sure. I mean, the trade, it's really a matter of kind of page count and what we want to deliver to the shelf. So if it's a massive collection that we've just gotten our hands on, like, the Archie TMNT, where we knew that we were like, okay, let's put out a compendium. Let's make this whole. Yeah. Let's do this all as one big bind up and make it something really special for these fans that are out there, but they're not necessarily, the current Turtles fans. They remember this from a certain time, and this is very much part of their nostalgia and their fandom. So let's bind that up and see where that lands. Whereas, a trade may, look at where the comic sales and does that merit a hardcover edition? Or should we just stick to trade and see how those do before we actually bind that up into a hardcover or into a collection of different tales? And so that all has to take place as we're in the middle of midstream. So right now it's August, end of August.
Almost end of August. Yeah, man.
End of August, right? And so right now we are actively selling in through Penguin Random House our summer 26 and late summer 26 titles. Yeah. So we've already figured out okay, well, we know that these series are going to collect from this year, a lot of the different dark stories. Hey, IDW Dark. Whoa. We'll talk about that in a minute. All that type of stuff is going to collect later on next year. So we have to figure out how we're going to package that, how that's going to be delivered, and sell that into retail now. So we're actively working, 9 to 10 months out, trying to plan what is going to be that particular bind up, whether that's a trade, whether that's a hardcover, whether it's a box set, whether it's, some different format entirely. Because we are releasing a smaller trim size digest version of IDW Classics that's coming out next year. So we'll have small versions, a la the DC compacts, and we'll also have a kids line of those, so on the go titles. So that's a new addition to this trim sizing and what we're offering. So all of this stuff has to be concocted during the course of the previous year. So we're all, it's great to be here in August of 25, but we're really in August 26.
Yeah, you guys are that far ahead. And I think that's what something when I was on that side of being a fan and then having now, talking to different publishers over the years, something that I've had to learn is that because the question was always like, how could you guys let this go out of print? This is such a popular book. And 9 times out of 10, the publishers were like, we had no idea it was out of print. We don't have time to keep up with that stuff because we're busy, like you said, looking 9 months ahead of time, looking at the book catalog, working on collected editions. And that's what I normally talk to the collected editions department. It's like we're working on collected editions coming out in the next year. So we don't have time to look and see what's out of print, especially now with the new systems too. Like what we have, it used to be Diamond would have like low in stock and out of stock and out of print.
To that point, we have actively started having basically a quarterly meeting to look at what is getting low stock, to say, hey, should we trigger a reprint or should we just do a new packaging of this, or should this go somewhere else? And so that is something that we have a committee for internally to look at. And so we aren't seeing the issues. Like I think one of the big ones that was out of stock for the longest time was like I'm going to say volume, like TMNT volume 7 or 8, I can't remember. It's something in one of those mid-tier numbers, and it always happens this way at every single publisher. And it's something mid-series where you're like, I need that volume, and it's like, oh man, are there enough people out there that need that volume right now? So that always becomes the question.
I think that was something that I definitely learned, because I was like, oh, yeah, that actually makes sense, right? You're looking at your job is keeping up with what's happening later on, not keeping up with what was happening back then. So that I think is something that the community has kind of come together, and we do like polls for like Marvel and DC now, and it makes it easier for them to see what to reprint. But we talked about your all's format of trade paperbacks and deluxe editions. And you touched upon a little bit of the compendiums. The compendiums is the format that you all use, and that's what Marvel and DC called the omnibus editions. You guys have done books like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the classic stuff, the Mirage years, the Archie stuff, and then Lock and Key. Is there any other series that you all will be working on, or you all have talked about doing in a big format like that?
There's a fingers crossed right here for what is the current the most recent Star Trek run that just wrapped up. Okay, because that is some of the most incredible writing that we've seen out there between Jackson and Colin. And then on the Defiant side with Chris Cantwell, there are 2 volumes that could scream for a compendium. Is it going to happen immediately? I'm not positive on that one. Again, it's depends on if it fits into the pub schedule, and then is there the demand for it? So, I think there's definitely enough content in there to make for what it would be an IDW compendium.
Now, speaking of Star Trek, what you mentioned Lansing and Collins. I love those guys. I didn't know they were writing that those series until IDW actually sent me a book about a year and a half ago, and I was like, hey, I recognize those names. Yeah, man, those guys kill it. Yeah. So I have fans that and friends that actually really like that series.
If they love that series, they're gonna love The Last Starship. We resurrected Kirk. It comes out next month. It's an ongoing series. You'll have 12 issues starting in I believe the end of September. We did a local comic store day cover. Call your local shop.
Who's the creative team on that one?
Jackson and Colin.
Damn, that's awesome.
Yes, okay. Because those they put those guys in a room and they will write all kinds of stuff on the walls, on pages, wherever. So yeah.
I've actually I've referred to them as one of my favorite creators working in comics and they worked as a duo for a long time until they had a falling out. Unfortunately, was DNA, Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning. I love those guys. I mean, all the way back to the UK days. And I was like, yeah, these guys, man, they're killed it on Captain America. I'm like, these guys are like the new DNA. I've got some questions from the chat, but let me get the super chat really quick. I'm friends with Thomas who did the variant cover for TMNT from IDW. How does one commission a custom cover with your company? Is it 1,000 copy order?
Yeah, we do retailer exclusives. So that is something that IDW. In fact, you can blame us for it. You can blame us for the retailer exclusive problem. It started 10, 12 years ago with the Godzilla #1 cover with all the different stores that were being.
I remember that.
Yeah. You remember that one? They're like, I don't know, I think 100 different covers. My long time ago predecessor Dirk Wood, I think, is responsible for that one. So blame us. So retail exclusives. Is it 1,000 copy order? It depends on the license. So there's that. So TMNT is a 1K. But yeah, and then it's basically, you figure out who the artist is that you'd like to work with, and then we go from there. And then we run through the same kind of approvals process as we would do for any other standard cover.
And it's got to be cool. I think I can answer that. To still do Ninja Turtle books and have Eastman come in from time to time and do things like covers and like.
Well, I mean, he's on writers. He's not from time to time. I mean, he's very much involved.
That is so freaking cool, man. You never really see that. You see creators move on.
Well, you never really see that, and creators do move on. But I think the thing is, and this is just going back to that kind of TMNT being re-released in the theatrical format this week, the 1990 film. It like had a week run and then they extended it another week. People love that movie and they love TMNT, and it's different from any other license that's out there on the marketplace right now. Where unlike Marvel or DC, which now is wrapped up into its corporate parents and all that other stuff, all those characters are part of that. TMNT is still the one comic license that has maintained throughout and still has the original creator attached to it to a degree. And so I mean that's the beauty of Eastman and TMNT, and obviously it's not going anywhere.
I think that is very unique and crazy. So I have to ask about this then. When dealing with properties that are licensed, right? Like you have TMNT. How does something like TMNT Naruto work?
Yeah. Take that timeline I talked about and then like extend it by like 6 months. Because now you've got double approvals, and now you've got two different companies that wouldn't normally talk to each other, with us in the middle, explaining why this is going to be something that is going to make everybody very, very happy and hopefully sell a bunch of copies in stores. And then, multiply that a little bit more, because Viz also requires translation to Japanese to go back to Japan headquarters and then come back this way. So the timeline is quite a thing when you look at an approvals like that, or when you invoke the manga side of things. So with that, it just was like such a brilliant combo. There had already been this one-off I think it was like a retail mall partnership type thing, where I think it was called Box Lunch is the name of the store. In the mall. Okay, so they had done these one-off consumer products that were like little ramen things that crossed over the TMNT and Naruto, and then like a backpack and some other stuff. So there was like a concept there, and we were like, well, why don't we just do that? And they're like, oh, you actually want to? You guys want to do that? You really do? You want to see what happens? And so yeah, we do. So TMNT Naruto was born, and now we've got this incredible series by Caleb Gollner. So trades out in October.
That's awesome. Also, wow, Ninja Turtles and Naruto. I mean, it's the same thing. Ninja Turtles is that one licensed property I feel like has been across everything just about. Like the whole Batman thing, that was freaking awesome. And I mean, crossing, well, that was during the Image era, but just hanging out with Savage Dragon and things like that. I feel like the
For
Turtles
sure.
Usagi,
Yep.
like it's this license that just kind of goes across the board. That is so freaking cool to be like working on books like that for characters that are to a lot of people as recognizable as like Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now, now dancing across the stage is Godzilla, who's also crossing over with everyone, including the TMNT.
The Godzilla, yes,
including TMNT.
Godzilla is everywhere too, man. Like, it is insane the amount of Godzilla and people still eating it up, man. Absolutely eating it up.
100%.
You all have released those books in different formats. There was the Godzilla Half Century War, which wasn't, I think it was a deluxe format, but it wasn't quite like the library format.
No.
And then you all did the hardcovers, like the 70th anniversary.
Correct, which we won the Eisner for. Hey, go 70th.
That's very important. And what was it, the James Stokoe hardcover collection?
Stokoe for sure. Yep.
But then you guys have been doing these books that are library and best of, that are trade paperback versions.
Mm-hmm.
Would there ever be a chance for the big green, like, to get some love in a big format, like a big hardcover format?
I mean, so you got a couple options here. You can go super limited right now, and you can go over to IDW Publishing, and you can see the folio edition that we did for the James Stokoe book, which includes signature and everything in a big oversized pull-out format, slipcase and all that jazz. We did the same thing, did a folio treatment with the Tom Scioli, which is not as, that was a little more oddball in the Godzilla universe, but it's a beautiful book, and it has a similar treatment. So we are trying to expand into these, into these kind of oversized formats where it makes sense. And it doesn't necessarily bode for like a wide release or like a full direct market or book market release, but it's something that we want to do, specifically for fans that are out there looking for something that's limited and exclusive. So we have those available.
And that's only through the IDW web store?
Yeah. Currently, I mean, if we see that pop off, we start selling out like crazy, then okay, well maybe we should push us into the market.
How does something like TMNT, Power Rangers, TMNT, Batman work in collect? This is always something that I've wondered, and I've gotten some answers for like the whole Marvel and DC thing. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to something like Power Rangers, which is a licensed product, that is being published by Boom right now, and then you guys in Ninja Turtles, who determines who gets to make the hardcover collections or the trade paperbacks? At what point do the companies go, okay, you publish it? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So it's a bit of a trading card game between companies, and so it's basically, Boom's a bit of Boom's an interesting example because Boom basically said, would you like Power Rangers? And what could you cross it over with? And we said, okay, we'll do Power Rangers Godzilla. And so we did 2 of those. And then they were like, well, what do we get for those? And we went, okay, we'll give you TMNT. And so then they got to do TMNT on their side. So they're responsible for publishing and the output of that particular trade, whereas we got Godzilla Power Rangers. Similarly, Dark Horse and us played ball in the trading card game of characters where we got Stranger Things TMNT. And then they got...
Forget about that one.
And then they got He-Man TMNT. So they're responsible for that one where we got the Stranger Things side.
Oh, okay. So it's like you're trading off. Like you get one and then they get one. Okay. Yes. So what about the thing that like Batman, Ninja Turtles? Like, was that the DC Omnibus? I assume that was a DC Omnibus. And then you guys got the
so
Batman
Marvel DC work a little different since they are the big dogs in the room. That's very much just a brokered license where we hold that and then we are responsible for the duration.
So it's a little bit different than what they were doing at Boom and Dark Horse. Okay. Mm-hmm. I was always curious how those kind of things work.
Yeah. No, good question though. I mean, it's always funny because like we'll see something pop up sometimes on the publishing schedule. We'll be like, where did this come from? Who's doing this? And they're like, oh, it's over at Boom or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, got it.
Oh, okay, that has
You
like
know, and
character.
it'd be like, who? I had no idea this was happening. Oh, okay, it's over there. Got it.
Well, I think of most recently, like the Sonic DC Heroes stuff.
Sure.
Which my wife is loving, apparently a lot of people are telling me it's really good. I haven't read it because I'm waiting for the trade paperback, right? That's why I was asking who gets to collect what.
Yep. Well, that one incidentally is with DC because that again is like when you are the license holder and you are the two big dogs in the room, then they're like, well, who Sonic does games, they don't publish, so they're like, DC, if you want to do this, you go publish it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then I don't know if
blowing minds here. I know I could do an entire course on crazy licensing and all this stuff. I mean, I've been to so many licensing expos, talked to all these different companies. So it's everybody does things just a little bit different. But when you're at the publisher level though, it's pretty boilerplate.
My question then, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this. I don't know how this works. When you acquire a license from the license holder, and I know, everything is done under contract. For example, Godzilla. You guys are doing comic books, Toho owns the license. What happens to things like the Dark Horse era of Godzilla comics? Is that something that comes with the license, or is that something that's off the table? Like,
it all depends. I mean, it all depends on what is out there and accessible. And then what's available. So my direct experience with this is that when I back in the Dark Horse days, I was able to work on the last 2 years of Star Wars when it was still under Dark Horse, and then Lucasfilm got purchased by Disney, and then Disney required all the files to be delivered to them, and so then it was just hand these over, and we knew that we were going to repackage them because that was part of the deal structure. So it really depends on what gets negotiated. Okay.
So then it depends on how that license was handed over, or what the contract says. Okay. It's almost like a case by case.
Absolutely. And the fun part about licensors too is that everything is a bit
Is there a fun part?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean all these things, we go to these conventions, we all have our fandoms, we all have these things that we love. I'm a wall art guy because I've used up all my bookshelf space. So now I've switched over to wall art. And so now it's like, I go after what I can find, and I love the Mondo prints and like all the other kind of stuff. But all that stuff has to be, negotiated with licensor. And so like for us, like we can't necessarily touch certain print stuff. We can only publish. And so licenses all get parsed out depending on the company and what they do. And so as far as the publishing side, we're looking at comics, we're looking at graphic novels, and that, that's kind of the scope of what our particular deal might be. Whereas somebody else might get something else, or you might get backpacks and, socks. I don't know.
I like the idea of socks. Everybody needs those. Yeah.
I'm just thinking of oh yeah, I saw that sock booth at San Diego. Right.
This is a great eye opener. I hope people are really getting a thing, like something out of this conversation, because to me, I think it's as easy as like, well, why don't you just do your own hardcover collection, and then DC can do their omnibus edition, and they can do Sonic Flash, and you guys can do Sonic Justice League. So it's not as easy as that. And then of course, what happened to the back catalog? Okay, there's so many questions here in the chat. I was serious. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Apparently, it's
great. It had nothing to do with it. Thank you.
Okay. So I want to hear, what are the future plans for Star Trek comics, since Lower Decks is the only ongoing series? And somebody else was just asking about Star Trek. Hold on one second. Let me make sure. Okay. What's up? I'm buying everything Star Trek. Is there any more plans to cross over with the Star Trek Online? I drive the Theseus as my ship every day.
We are actively in talks with Star Trek Online. There is more news there coming very shortly. I can't talk about it quite yet because it isn't released, but it's coming. So we are in cahoots with them for sure. On the Star Trek publishing front, yes, Lower Decks has been phenomenal, and also congrats to Ryan North, who wrote our Warp Your Own Way book in the Lower Decks universe, which is basically a I can't say the actual brand, but it's a make your own pathway book by choosing numbers. And it's very good. It won the Hugo Award last week. So if you're looking for something awesome, check out that, because it's in the Lower Decks universe. But with that being said, so we've got the last Starship, which is going to start next month, and that's going to carry us well into next year. So that's going to be our new, ongoing for the time being. And then we have next year, as some people may know in the chat, is the 60th anniversary of Star Trek. So things are being cooked up right now as we speak. I'm not ready to talk about them just yet, but in the interim, we also have a new Strange New Worlds series that's happening, just came out this week. So that is tied in with the show. Then we also have this Red Shirt series, which is very, very fun. It's a mini series, but who doesn't love the red shirts? And they're very useful in dying on the ship. So I mean, the red shirts is great. And then we also are doing the Voyager. Basically, it equates to the final season of Voyager. And so that is also coming out this fall. So I mean, there's a number of things that are happening in conjunction with Star Trek right now as we move into the 60th.
Well, I hope you all got your answer in your Star Trek bit. Let's see here. How do you find new audiences? Okay, it's a pretty interesting question. Can you tell us a little bit about the approach for marketing as a legacy IP like Ninja Turtles? At this point in its trajectory, how do you find new audiences in addition to fans like me, who are lifetime readers?
Mm-hmm. So, couple angles to this one. One is that we are extremely aware of the fact that as an IP grows, the audience grows with it. I remember very, very much being in the theater and watching TMNT 1990 as my first movie in the theaters. And so now here we are 35 years later. It's like, wow, that's crazy. We're old. And so,
Yeah.
but these, this fan base ages and then they have kids. And so then we look at, okay, well, we know that as fans of comics, we're going into stores and we're actively looking for things for ourselves to read. And as kids are starting to come around, we're trying to figure out ways to get them involved and then find these new readers. So that's not to say that we wouldn't look at, obviously new audiences like with the Jason Aaron series. Obviously, a new relaunch is a great jump on point for, readers of pretty much any age, theoretically. But we also are very much partnered with Paramount in trying to do things like Tales from the TMNT, where we're doing this, tied in with the younger Mutant Mayhem style Paramount show that, appeals to that audience and gets them involved at that level before they jump over to what might be the nitty gritty, Laird and Eastman version, if and when they get there. So, there's a lot of different ways to play with it, and trying to figure out, how to get folks involved. But really, at the end of the day, what we're thinking is like, kids, have such a short attention span, and parents are obviously the ones who are, carrying the wallet most of the time. So therefore, if we're going into a comic store, let's make something that's available for, both interesting to you and to hopefully child that's coming with you, or, something to gift to somebody else.
It's all about the future generation. I think that's very important too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not to forget that. So speaking of future generations, is the new trim size a direct response to the success of DC Compact, or something you were all planning to reach new readership that are used to reading manga and Scholastic size books?
Yeah, I mean, Scholastic's a huge part of our business, and love the Scholastic fairs and the way that they organize. Manga obviously is a big challenge for us because it requires an entirely new editorial skill set that IDW just does not have at the current moment. So yes, within this, it's kind of looking at DC Compact and saying, gosh, they were so successful with this. And if this is really the entry point for readers, like finding something that is of a very substantial page count that you're not necessarily going to put down overnight, and it's going to be a value price, $13.99, and that's going to be all the different classic series, like a classic book of Lock and Key and a classic book of some Godzilla stories and classic Rocketeer. These are the things that we're thinking about in terms of being able to get them on the shelves and have very similar branding across the board. And that also goes for the kids line On the Go, which would be, Sonic and the TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures and all that type of stuff. So similar treatment in branding, similar treatment in size, value, price. Yes, direct response.
Okay. I think this is something that has been it's public now. That is IDW in a partnership with Alien Books Valiant. I've noticed Valiant being included in the IDW monthly catalog.
Yes, Alien is a sub-distributor, or we are sub-distributing Alien, I should say. They are their own entire publishing entity, so we have no say over their editorial. We have no say over their books. This all was very much in the midst of the Diamond chaos that happened earlier this year, and people trying to figure out a way to keep their books, in stores and on shelves. And Alien's been a great partner to work with. And so with that, they've very, very much come over to our side. We take care of the publishing side, and they just focus on getting the books out and finished and basically out the door. So yeah, they are definitely in the IDW catalog, right alongside Top Shelf and right alongside all the rest of the stuff that we put out.
I found out actually before the news broke. I was looking at because I do this just about every day. I look at what's going on in the catalog, and manga started popping up on IDW's catalog on, I think it was PRH. It was right before the one of the other catalogs went live. But I was like, why is manga oh, it's Alien Books. And then that's when the news broke that you all were going to publish their books, but they're still handling everything. Yeah, Diamond has made a lot of people change things. That's for sure. So I think these go hand in hand. The TMNT, more crossovers, and when you start thinking about a crossover like Turtles and Stranger Things, those ideas generally come from the marketing department or editorial department, or somebody pitch it like, "Hey guys, I got a crazy idea about Turtles."
There's definitely an internal company chat where it's just kind of a general brainstorm, and things get thrown around all the time, and a lot of stuff gets left on the cutting room floor. And then sometimes something sticks, and then it's like, go figure out if you can do that. And find us a writer, find us a pitch, and let's see what happens. So it's definitely a collaborative process. And then there's also the fact of wait, would this actually work? And that's when the marketing brain kicks in and go, I don't necessarily, it might not sell. That might not work. Let's maybe nix that. So yeah, there's that one.
Wait, you've been there for a couple of years. What's the most, to you, what's been the coolest project that you've been a part of?
The coolest project I've been a part of, the Turtles relaunch last year was no small feat. And the thing that I, really
everything was hush hush too. And by the way, that was really cool how you all would drop the new artist every day. Like,
it was a huge undertaking, and it was a really, really, you only get one of those maybe once or twice in your career in comics, like, depending on what you're working on. And so, especially if you're not with one of the big two. And so with that, it's like, okay, what do we do to make this really special? And how do we engage the retailers? And, I put a lot of thought into what was going to make stores chomp at the bit to kind of get their hands on this. And one of the things that we had done was offer a pizza party for select stores that had ordered X amount of copies. And so nothing nothing makes my crazy marketing brain work better than when it's like, oh yeah, I said I was going to do this thing, and now I have to call Pizza Hut corporate and figure out if they're even going to back this play. Oh, they're not? That's interesting. Oh, why? Because Domino's is the new sponsor for the movie or whatever. Okay, never mind. That's fine. I'll still take $25,000 in gift cards and hand them out to all these different shops. And then we made this big heat map on Google Maps to show everybody where these pizza parties were happening around the US and Canada.
Canada too, huh?
Canada too. And so that was a huge undertaking, but what a launch day. And we did it the same day as Preview Night at San Diego, and that was crazy gangbusters. So I mean, and then to see a book like TMNT do 300,000 units was nuts. I mean, like you just don't see that. Outside again of like the big two, those numbers are just
right.
crazy.
Those are some huge numbers, which really helps,
Yeah.
solidify that the comic books aren't going anywhere. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is I see all this negative talk and social media and of course YouTube are also guilty of this because those those clickbait thumbnails, man, they work. And I mean, you see the views and you're like, the hell am I doing wasting my time talking about the positive side of comics?
Well,
but it's wonderful to hear that they are selling. And I will say that Jason Aaron on Turtles, dude, I'm a big Jason Aaron fan, huge Jason Aaron fan. And I think he is doing, his best work in a long time on Turtles and Absolute Superman. He's killing it on both of those books.
I mean, I agree. Jason's a phenomenal writer, and he's done, an incredible service to the TMNT community, putting in these first 12 issues. Like, it's wild. And if you like that, you're gonna love what Gene has to offer.
Gene's a great writer
too. So pick up the reins and run it with it.
Now, will that continue with a future issue number? Or are you guys relaunching it?
13.
Oh, okay. So you do
13 this December. Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
It will be out this December. There's going to be a whole blind bag going along with that, with like a ton of different super heavy end collectible covers. We are working on getting all that done and dusted and approved, and then we'll be announcing all those different artists very soon. But yeah, big issue number, lucky number 13. So stay tuned for December.
Awesome. And how do y'all find artists for cover work?
Artists for cover work. So the main way that happens is going to cons. We have editorial staff that generally is going out to conventions throughout the U.S. And oftentimes overseas to really scout for talent.
Okay.
So having a booth and being out there and being able to showcase your work is one way. The other way, and I know people have their mixed feelings on social media, but boy, if you can develop a following and show some really, really incredible art that people respond to, even if it's street art stylings or something very different like a woodcut, all that type of stuff, it really just depends. And then develop that following. We're also looking constantly to say who's gonna be the next one that we need to put on the cover.
Oh my gosh, what is his name? The gentleman that was drawing Turtles with Jason Aaron.
Juan Ferreira?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Killer artwork, man.
Yeah. Well, so I worked with Juan again a decade ago at Dark Horse and did this book called Colder with Paul Tobin. And if you want
Paul Tobin's book, that's an awesome book.
That is an awesome book, and that's Juan Ferreira at right here before he popped off and oh man, that book is freaky as hell. So
yeah, I talked about that book every year. I do my hidden gems for horror comics, and that came up. That cover alone, man,
cover's incredible. Cover's incredible,
disturbing, dude.
yeah, cover's incredible.
Yeah, I love it, dude. So yeah, do you all do folder reviews at conventions?
Yeah. We do portfolio reviews. Generally speaking, we usually, try and put some time aside or have an editor there to try and do portfolio reviews. It is time consuming, so it is one of those things that we have to set the time and then say, okay, we'll return these to you at the end of the show, take them back and review them either at the hotel or whatever, and then we'll distribute as such. But yeah, it happens. Most companies still do.
So compendiums, deluxe editions, trade paperbacks, and now digest size. Has there, and you have I haven't seen any of these prestige format books. I know there's limited edition prestige format books for something Beneath the Trees.
Yes,
it sees it's exclusive to the IDW web store, and it's a hardcover exclusive.
You have not seen that? You've not seen that in person?
No, I've never seen them in person. So I was wondering, what are the what are the dimensions of
Let me
this? Like,
let me make a note to talk to Greg after this. Yeah.
I've only I knew of them because some of my viewers were
They
asking.
are man, I thought I had one with me. I was trying to prep for this, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just grab a few things. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm always gonna grab
I said
them
it was
all.
laid back. Remember, it
was laid back. No, the trim size on the storybook is about the same size as the library edition, but it comes with the gold. It comes with the gold edges. It comes with the sprayed edges. I guess is what everyone's very, very big into on Book Talk these days. Yeah, and then it's got the nice ribbon. It's got the signed tip-in plate from Patrick. So I mean, that's we tried to really dress these up to be something that is special.
So let's talk about that book. For example, the Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. That book was a huge hit for you all.
Still a huge hit.
For something that's not Ninja Turtles, for something that's not an IP pre-existing, and a lot of it had to do with on my end, it was word of mouth, man. Because I'm a trade waiter, right? I read paperbacks, I read collected editions, but my viewers, most of them don't wait. They're like, I gotta go get comics on Wednesday, and so many of them on my Saturday live streams that I have were talking about this book. And I was like, okay, if Melanie finds it, I will check it out. My wife collects single issues.
All right.
And she tried to find the first 3 or the first 2 because she was trying to get the she
couldn't
found
do
the
it.
first, she not put no.
Couldn't do it because there's a print run of 13,000, maybe even less. So yeah, I mean the first issue hits real hard, and all of a sudden, everybody starts talking about it. And there's something to be said for Patrick is an incredible talent. I will say somebody that does it all, writing and drawing, and then watercoloring and everything else like that. Yeah. That is wild. And so something just popped with that. It was a combination of perfect storm, and so we had to go back to print. So sad. And then right back to print again, and then soon enough, we see the numbers on number 1 are actually they're not what we thought they were. They're actually way closer to 50, and we're approaching 60, and wow. And now number 2 and 3 and 4, we're seeing multiple reprints on those. So it's a great thing to have a runaway hit. Second series is on stands now, Rite of Spring.
Yeah, so that first issue was killer, man. No pun intended.
Yeah. So I mean, and so now we're in the stage of, okay, this has become a name, and how do we support this going forward? It's very much a tentpole for kind of where IDW is headed, and IDW Dark, in terms of trying to find something that becomes hopefully some sort of new legacy.
Let's see here.
Yes.
I'm reading the new issue 2 right now, and Greg is chiming in with Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. It's one of the rare direct market books that to actually see an increase in orders with consecutive issues. All things that Patrick Horvat's killer imagination. Again, no pun intended. I find that to be amazing. For, like I said, not an X-Men, not a Batman, not an absolute Batman or an Ultimate Spider-Man. A brand new story that really, if you think about it, isn't for everybody because it has mature content.
Sure does.
So, so you're already limiting who you're selling to, but man, does it bring it. And I'm so glad that it was a big hit for you all. A huge hit. Kind of reminded me of the way that Lock and Key, when that was coming out, that put IDW on the map for a lot of people outside of the IPs that they had at the time. But yeah. So tell me a little bit about this IDW Dark.
So IDW Dark is the new, basically, horror mature readers in print. We realized after doing Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees and seeing the response there that okay, there might be something here. And then we also were looking at our fellow competitor publishers saying oh well, we're entering into this new dark era of our civilization at the moment. Why don't we go for an imprint like this that's very, very horror centric? And so with that, it was kind of okay, what else can we get? And then our friends over at Paramount said, well, we've got a bench of horror titles if you want to look through them. And so sure enough, it was okay, well, let's go after a few of these. So Event Horizon now on stands. incredible book. Christian Ward, Tristan Jones on art. Woo! You want a crazy horror sleeper hit? That's the new one. I mean, no one's touched that IP since the movie, since
The
97.
movie is such a sleeper
Yeah,
hit. Too.
exactly.
Like,
but
so
no
good.
one's done anything with that IP at all, period, since 97. So it's like, well, let's tell the prequel and let's get that out there. So you've got Event Horizon. Then we picked up Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone's obviously had legacy in comics. It's been done previously, but now we're kind of taking this back and basically doing these as anthology. It's like a single issue standalone from a specific artist. So it's like, it is an anthology book, but there's not multiple stories in the one issue. It's just Dan Waters on issue one. Well, Dan Waters and Morgan Beam. And then we've got Francesco Francavilla just doing one. And, it's all these, fantastic creators that we're bringing on board to tell, these crazy Twilight Zone era books. It is black and white. We're keeping it very much in style. So that's also in dark. And then we also got the rights to Sleepy Hollow, the Tim Burton movie. The Tim Burton, this is continuing that legacy, which also hasn't really been touched since that movie came out. And that's a huge fan favorite of Burton's. And so we're able to tell stories in that ballpark now, courtesy of Paramount. And then the other two that we aren't quite at the point of talking about, but we'll have more to talk about during New York, is Smile and A Quiet Place. So those are also in there, alongside a new 30 Days of Night series, which is on the creator-owned side. And that's got Rodney Barnes writing. So there's some really good stuff coming out of the horror side of what is IDW Dark now. And, we'll continue to roll that forward into next year and more announcements to come.
Oh, that's awesome. I love you. A big fan of horror anthology. So you piqued my interest at Twilight Zone, because that is a property that, I mean, outside of the Twilight, man, I don't think we've seen a comic book series like that. Because many times have they tried with Tales from the Crypt and Creepshow and things like that. But and those come back from time to time. As a matter of fact, I think Oni Press is doing the EC line, and
yes, they are.
Who is it? Image is doing Creepshow through Skybound. So, man, Twilight Zone was my jam. Though that tradition in this household is to watch episodes. My daughter and I watch episodes of the Twilight Zone, like the old school Twilight Zone. We're big fans.
Oh, there you go.
So that's really cool. I'm glad that you're saying there's different creators in each issue too.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically treating every issue as an episode. So each creator's got its own chance to play in the ballpark. Or in the Twilight Zone, so to speak.
The art on the current TMNT is absolutely insanely good too. Treat
Love
every issue.
Thank you.
Well, I think I don't want to take too much of your time, because, man, we were very blessed to have you for this long, dude, because I know you were super busy. But what other things, besides IDW Dark and all these different series that are going to be collected eventually, what other things do the folks at IDW have planned?
I would be remiss if I did not bring up Top Shelf. Top Shelf is our sister imprint. So Top Shelf has been around for quite some time. Chris Staros, legend in his own right, and Lee Walton have been working tirelessly to put out some incredible different graphic novels of a wide variety. And obviously the two big ones that, folks are very aware of are the March trilogy by late Senator John Lewis. And then you also have They Call This Enemy by George Takei. And so we just released the new It Rhymes with Takei book, which is George's coming out story. Beautiful book, same creative team. So if you are interested in checking that out, George has done a phenomenal job, and he's 88 and he's going on 18, and he's out there. He's trying, activist, die hard, and that's incredible to see. That's incredible to work with somebody like that. So we're very, very lucky to see that and have that book within our walls. And then another fun one, which I was able to pull, is this Spoops book. So if you're in the Halloween
I've been
season,
keeping an eye on that one.
Yeah.
Can you hold it up again? Really quick?
I guess yeah. There you go. Spoops.
Okay. I was looking at the dimensions of it.
Yeah. So this is a kid's book. So FYI, it's not a true graphic novel. It is a rhyming verse kids book, a la Night Before Christmas. This is written by AJ Lacasio. with art by Laurie Conley, and AJ Locascio is the voice actor he's Gambit on X-Men 97. So all you...
I actually knew that because one of my viewers, whenever I went through the catalog and I talked about that book, they were like, "Oh, it's Gambit's book," and I was so confused. I'm like,
yes,
what?
yeah. So AJ's done a killer job at this book, and we're very excited for this to be hitting shelves this fall. So that's one to look out for if you got little ones, or you're just looking for a good spooky gift for somebody going back to school or what have you. That's going to become an easy perennial for us. It's going to be on shelves every year. So very excited. So anyway, that's Top Shelf. There's a lot of other good stuff, but definitely go check it out at your own leisure.
Yeah, they put out some great stuff. And like you said, original graphic novels. Super chat. I am in marketing and communications at an education nonprofit. As someone who has switched industries, do you have advice for someone looking to make the transition into marketing at a comic publisher?
Well, so the first things first would be, to familiarize yourself with the publishing industry. I think that's one of the most tricky parts about going from, a different industry into something that is extremely nuanced. I mean, and so publishing has a lot of crazy ins and outs, whether it's paper stocks or, I think we didn't even touch on tariffs, but like there's all the different, shipping and logistics and stuff where it's cool. I'm trying to wrap this one up, but anyway, so just familiarize yourself as much as you can with the particular industry that you're looking at. And if it has some segue, so like education, I can see there being a segue to like a publisher that has a large educational component to it, like an Abrams or like, Fantagraphics or what have you, and trying to figure out where that would fit in. Just to, increase your chances. But I mean, it really, just depends on honing up your skills and then being able to speak to that particular market and be eloquent about it. But I mean, transferable skills are transferable skills. So best of luck.
That's what I was asking at the very beginning, like when you were looking at a job that came open and how did you go? Yeah, I think I can apply for that. And I think it's very amazing that you have moved around. Not only just moved around, but you did something not a lot of people think about, is like you left comic books and then came back. Like you left the comic book industry to go back and do some things and then came back. Because I think a lot of people, including myself, when I was young, I was like, once I'm in comics, I'll stay there.
It's something about working with creatives that is and being in that space of creating something and having something beautiful or something iconic that you're able to work on. And so that's kind of where that comes from. Not to say that making keyboards and mice is not a great thing or like whatever, but like there is something to be said for having a part in what is one of the original American art forms. So
well said. That is very well said. And thank you so much for being here, man, for taking time out of your busy
pleasure,
schedule.
dude.
Many meetings and planning ahead, and thank you to Greg at IDW for helping put this together. And I love talking to people that work in comics that are also fan of comics, and it comes through. I don't know, and I know there are people that work in comics that.
I got my Maximum Carnage on vinyl. This is the original soundtrack.
The soundtrack to the video game?
From the Sega game by Green Jelly. So, I mean, yeah, the fandom carries through. I mean, like, it's...
That's badass. I'm a collector of video game vinyl myself, and I don't have that one. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That is cool.
My other prized possession is the Sonic 3 vinyl that was like a total bootleg that has him on the cover in the Michael Jackson Thriller pose.
Yes.
That's another room, but that's a gem of my collection.
I have been looking for the stupid Chrono Trigger. Is it 3 disc vinyl? Oh my gosh. Yeah, people talk about collected editions like Omnis when they go out of print.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, at least there's a chance for these things to come back to print. God knows when they're going to reprint a Chrono Trigger vinyl. You figured Square would be like, hey, the anniversary is now. Let's do it. Nope, that's not the way they work. Nope. And on that note, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. Smash that like button on the way out. Check out IDW. They have a website where you can order some of their exclusive stuff. And they have weekly comic books and the IDW Dark Universe, which is just starting. So that's really cool. and more turtles. And I'm sure turtles will be crossing over with many different characters for as long as they're around.
Probably.
Stay healthy and safe out there, everybody. Much love. We
Thanks,
are
guys.
out of here. And